is Jabril Toure, and next to me is Diane, who's part of the Justice for Kyam Committee, as well as assorted other folks who are part of the committee who are in the audience. And so I want to thank everyone for coming out and sharing their presence and agreeing to listen, to learn, and to help support justice in this case. Many of you may know the story of why we're here, but I think it's important to always say first that we're here because of the overwhelming love of this family and the fact that an injustice of tremendous proportion happened in the case of Kyam Livingston. For folks who are not versed with the case, in July of 2013, Kyam was arrested here in Flatbush and was taken to the precinct and then taken to jail. As most of you know, when you're taken into custody, the police have the responsibility to make sure that you're treated well, to make sure that there's adequate care if you have any medical issues, and that at the end of the day, that your health is the main concern, because you haven't been convicted of anything when you've been arrested. You've only been charged with something. And so in the case of Kyam, none of this happened. She went to central booking and basically requested assistance for about 7 hours from officers who were there. Over the course of this time, she was told to wait, to be quiet, to shut up, and that they would lose her papers. As you know, this is not the first time someone has passed in central booking, and we as a Justice Committee have been working to really try to pull together a lot of the details and connect the dots about what's happening in central booking, because this case in particular is emblematic of the lack of transparency, first of all, that we have within the NYPD system in general, but also the lack of accountability. You know, when officers have a job and their responsibility is to protect the life and health and safety of those who are incarcerated, and they don't do that, then why is it that those people have not been charged? Why is it that those people have not been identified to the public? And why has there not been a full investigation? So these are the things that we have been struggling for ever since. And this family has been extremely courageous in having monthly rallies, gatherings, events to spread the knowledge about what happened in this case, but also to make sure that there's going to be change. And that's what we're focused on doing tonight. We're going to hear from several people who have been doing the work, as well as people who have advice and other ways that we can continue this fight, this struggle for justice, because it doesn't just happen here, and it doesn't just happen on the street. We have to take this all the way to the DA. We have to take this all the way to the mayor. We may have to take this even higher than that, because at the end of the day, an injustice occurred, and we need to make sure that it is corrected. I just want to introduce Diane, who also has been doing a lot of hard work on this particular committee, as well as other causes, but in particular has really held things together. So I want to let her introduce herself. Thank you.
Thank you, Jabril. Thanks everybody for coming out. I appreciate it. I want to thank the other committee members who are here. Thank you all for continuing to fight the good fight and do the hard work of drawing attention to this injustice. I don't want to talk long. I'm basically going to bring up the family so they can say a few words. I just want to say that it's not been an easy few months. We just had a rally out in front of Brooklyn Central Booking last month, and it's not easy to get up there and talk about losing a loved one, it kind of opens up those feelings every time. So I just want to put that out there. It's not easy for family to come up and each time and say what they have to say. So I want to give them a lot of love and support as they do that. Anita, would you like to come up? This is Anita Neal, mother of Kyam Livingston.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Anita Neal. My daughter is Kyam Livingston. This is what I have left of her. Kyam. On July 23rd, 2013, my daughter was killed in 120 Skimmerhorn. She was arrested first on the 19th. They took her from my mother's home for a minor incident. From my mother's house, instead of taking her straight to 7 Precinct, they took her to Kings County Hospital. She was out early in the day. She was at a barbecue. She was waiting for a boyfriend because it was his birthday. It was a Friday night. She had a few drinks in her body. So the police took it upon himself, because he smelled alcohol on her breath, to take her to Kings County. They said she was intoxicated. I was on the phone with my daughter. She was not intoxicated. She called me step by step where she was. She said 2 officers are in my mother's house. She's coming out of the shower, and they're there to arrest her. From there, Kings County. From Kings County, approximately, this happened at almost 1 a.m. This was Friday going into Saturday, 1 a.m. From Kings County Hospital back to the 7 Precinct, I called the 7 Precinct. She called me from the 7 Precinct telling me that they're getting ready to take her downtown. Now, this is 9-something in the morning now, almost 10 a.m. So she said they were getting ready to take her. So then I called back to the precinct and I spoke to the captain at the desk. And he claims that they had a backup, but nobody told me. My daughter was taken to Kings County Hospital. They act like she was there all night long at the 7 Precinct. From the 7 Precinct, they took her downtown to Central Booking. Mind you, her body's empty. She has nothing in her body. She has no food, no liquids, or anything. They put her in a cell. 1 a.m., she called me from downstairs, telling me that she couldn't see the judge. Now, this is Saturday. All day she sat there. This is the only time she had when they got ready to go up. She got money. She used the phone. It was 1:17 in the afternoon. She called me to tell me that she couldn't see the judge, so they were taking her upstairs. Next time I heard 2 officers knocked on my door on Sunday. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. They told me my daughter had a seizure. My daughter never had a seizure in her life. My daughter had asthma. She had colitis. She stayed in a hot cell with 18 other girls. And it was hot. It was summertime. Remind you, it's July. I went from my home to Brooklyn Hospital because they claimed that she was at Brooklyn Hospital. They wouldn't let me see my daughter. They claimed that they didn't have a key to see my daughter. They had to open this door, they had to open that door, back and forth, telling me I can't see my daughter, there's nobody on, nobody's working on the weekend, back and forth, back and forth. They had me run from the hospital to 7 Precinct, to the Central Booking with my daughter, Ashanta. We back and forth, back and forth. Finally, I went into the courtroom at 120 Skimmerhorn. And I told them, look, somebody killed my daughter, and I want answers. The officer took me upstairs, took us upstairs, and they said, I finally got to see a picture of my daughter. Meanwhile, when they came to my house, nobody had a picture, so I wanted to make sure that this was my child, since she's talking about seizures, and I know my daughter never had a seizure. So finally saw my daughter's picture, and I said, yes, that's my daughter. But they did not let me see my daughter at the hospital. Went back to the hospital after I left Central Booking. But the people at 120 Skimmerhunt was saying that the girls, all the girls are there, they being interviewed. So my other daughter, Shanta, went inside one of the rooms where they was being interviewed at. And they said there's cameras everywhere, somebody will talk sooner or later to find out what happened to my daughter. Then, I left there because nobody's giving me no answers. I went back to the hospital, the Brooklyn Hospital. They still wouldn't let me see my daughter. They took me upstairs to a supervisor, telling me that the people don't work on the weekend, that this, that. Now, anytime somebody passes away, somebody dies, you should be able to see the people. They should be there. They should be laying there waiting for you to identify them. 3 hours passed, maybe 3.5. I finally said, they told me my daughter's in the morgue or whatever, they being investigated. I said, if my daughter's behind that door, I don't need a key because she's going to open the door to let me see if she's behind it. They finally got together with other people, calling different numbers. I finally got to see my child. Yes, it was my daughter. She was there. I couldn't help her. But any other time, somebody gets killed, an officer gets shot, or the shootings, they can identify who the police are. They're not giving me no names. They're not offering me anything. Everything has to go through the lawyer. They say they don't have no videos. Now they're holding up the videos. This is why I'm fighting every single day, because I'm going to get justice for my daughter. I'm going to get justice for my daughter because they killed her. They banged on the cell. They told her she was sick. There was officers there claiming, oh, she and my grandson had seizures. Let it ride. Oh, she's a drunk. Not knowing that my daughter worked for a security firm. My daughter wasn't a bum. My daughter never was a bum. I raised my children. So now, this is what I have. This is my heart now. My heart was taken from me. This is what I have left. This is mine now. I can't see my daughter. I saw my daughter almost every day. My daughter used to go to work. Before she go to work, she would come by to see me. Now I don't have that. That's why I keep going. But I want justice. And I'm going to get it for her. So, whoever, whatever you can do, I would appreciate it. But thank you very much for always being there. Thank you.
And I want to thank you, Anita, for showing us what struggle means, showing us how to fight. Because, you know, the reality is, a lot of times when these sorts of things happen, people feel like, what's so special about my case? Why do I have to do all of this work? You know, what is this? What's going to come of this? It's a very disheartening process to try to ask a city as big as New York, with as much bureaucracy as New York, to turn over documents, to turn over information. And unfortunately, since day one, you know, the city has stalled turning over any relevant information. It has not identified the officers. It has not done a full investigation. So that's why we're still here. That's why we have to fight. And as long as Anita is willing to fight, I'm willing to fight. And I hope everyone in this room still has the will to fight, because it needs to be a lot of us. it needs to be a different day. We need a new day in New York where the citizens raise their voice and actually get answers. I think we started to see the beginning of it last year, hopefully, with the stop and frisk case. But as we can see, there are all kinds of new issues with what the police are doing, right? We've heard about a case in the last few days where a man died at Rikers Island. A man who had medical issues in a hot cell, and somebody was supposed to be looking out for him. So this is not a small problem or an isolated case, you know, and I think that what it calls for is us to identify exactly what can we do, who can we reach. You know we have some allies in the city government, and we're happy about that, but what can we do to get this city to be accountable in the way that it has to be? I mean, there's no reason why if somebody passes away, you can't find out who was in charge of them, and you can't find the videotape. That's unacceptable to us. I want to talk a little bit about the myths versus facts in this case. You heard some of it. The NYPD put out a lot of false information as soon as this case came out. One of the first things that they tried to say was that she died in the hospital. When in fact, after we've done a little bit of checking around in the documents that have been turned over to the lawyer, as well as eyewitness accounts, those other people who were in the cell with Kyam, who actually tried to save her life. There were people in that cell who tried to administer aid to her. There were people who called out to the guards and tried to get them to respond. Those people said that she passed away while she was in the cell waiting for an ambulance. You know? So why is it necessary that the city tries to lie and say that she died in the hospital? And of course, our belief is that they don't want to admit to the fact that somebody who was simply sitting in a cell in their custody passed away. In addition to that, they've tried to damage the character of Kyam Livingston. They've tried to say that she had a chronic alcohol problem when, you know, as Anita said, she was only out celebrating her birthday and maybe had 1 or 2 drinks, as many of us do on our birthday. And so, you know, why is it that they have to make it seem as if there was a chronic situation instead of just properly investigating what happened? I mean, the reality is we have a person that was healthy, a hardworking woman who, after however many hours she spent going through the system, passed away after requesting medical attention. It's not like nothing was said and, you know, somebody just passed away. There was all kinds of people that were asking what happened, in addition to her. And so we have to make sure that we don't start to believe their lies, because a lot of times, as we see with every other case where somebody dies at the hands of NYPD, we start to get all this information about that person and their background, and, you know, they did this and they did that, trying to obscure the facts. But, you know, it's clear to us what happened. And we know who Kyam was. And so it's important that we make sure to just try to, as people are talking about this case and as we're moving forward, make sure that we don't spread any of those lies that have been said through the media. As we're going forward, there will be more actions. We will be meeting with the DA's office. We will be talking to the Attorney General. And we need to make sure that everyone in this room tells at least 10 people. Make sure that if you have websites or if you have Facebook groups or any of those social media avenues, to try to spread this, because we need to get as many people as possible to know about this case. The mainstream media covered it early on. We had some coverage in the Metro and News 12 and a few others, but as we know, mainstream media is not going to keep the pressure on in this kind of case. It's really up to us, the people, to keep the pressure on.
I just want to point out that we do have our list here. I would like to thank Mr. Lundy from Congressman Jeffrey's office for what Jabril said is true. You know, there are a lot of, there's a lot of erroneous information out there. I know that just from reading the papers and looking at the news, when there's a killing, usually a shooting is what gets a lot of attention. And the first thing they do is they look for the person's criminal record, and they talk about the person's criminal record as though that justifies the killing. In this case, they weren't able to do that, so it's a matter of looking into what they can say about the person's character, as if a person's character makes it okay for them to die under those circumstances, and it doesn't. No one should have to suffer for that long, especially 7 hours, for something as simple as a phone call downstairs to the medical unit to come up and at least check on the person and make sure they're okay. If not, call an ambulance. It's very simple. It's not rocket science. What it is the culture of indifference that exists, where people who have power, the police, decide that some people's lives are more valuable or less valuable than others, and they make decisions based on that assumption. And that's not the way to do things. We're supposed to be equal under the law. Anyway, I did want to ask Mr. Lundy if he wanted to come up and say a few words of support. I appreciate that you're here. When Mr. Lundy first heard me speak about this case, he came up right away to offer the help of his office, and I can't thank him enough. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As it was stated, my name is Christopher Lundy, and I do work for Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, who is our congressman of the 8th Congressional District. I want to bring greetings to Ms. Neal, to the family of Kyam, to Diane, and to the Justice Committee, who has been at the forefront. Ever since we heard of this story back in when we were doing the NAN, the National Action Network rallies, we went straight to work and tried to let the congressman know what was going on. The congressman then stepped in and came to a rally and offered his assistance. I am here tonight to let you know that that assistance is still available. We have a new city government in place. So the old city government and the old hassles that you might have had, we hope that we will not have them anymore. You have a new DA in place, Ken Thompson. We have a very good relationship with him. So if the lawyers need assistance with facilitation of meetings with the DA, with the AG, these are things that we can help with.
Thank you.
So again, I am here to show support. I am here to give encouragement, to continue the fight. Because if we don't, no one else will. And as long as we rattle the saber, someone will hear the noise. So we just continue to ask the community to stay vigilant, continue to ask the family to stay encouraged, and those who are fighting just to stay strong and do so. And our office will still help in any way, shape, form, or fashion. We have been calling, we have been talking on the phone, so anything that you need, just call the office, and then we will see how we can help.
This is Haley Fitzgerald. She's from the New York City Jails Action Coalition.
Thank you, Diane. My name is Haley Fitzgerald, and I'm here tonight representing a coalition called the New York City Jails Action Coalition, which is a grassroots group of community activists, formerly incarcerated people and their family members working to fight for human rights, dignity, and safety in the city jails. I wanted to thank Diane and all of Kyam's family actually for inviting us to be here. I've been really inspired by the organizing you've done around Kyam and her life, and in honoring her and in pushing for real political changes in our city that could help a lot of people, because as we were saying before, this is not an isolated case at all. And in fact, in central booking and at Rikers, as the press has reported on this week, there are a number of human rights abuses that are occurring all the time. And you know, we had a rally recently about a man named Jason Akbaria. He died in solitary confinement in August of 2012. He needed medical attention, and the correction officers ignored him. The Queen's medical examiner ruled his death a homicide because neglecting medical care when it's needed is murder. And the correction officer responsible for his death was never fired. He's still working in the same facility, still being paid with taxpayer money. And it's outrageous. And I'm here hoping to connect with all of you because I think our voices together make us stronger. When I read about the man who died of heat in a cell at Rikers, his family was not informed. Their family heard from the press, from a reporter. That's how they found out that their son had died. We spoke about video, and so many of the cases members of the Jails Action Coalition share with us, there are not videos. They say that there are cameras at Rikers. Well, not when something occurs, not when an act of brutality occurs to someone incarcerated there. The DAs do not follow through with these cases against correction officers. And there's just no transparency. So we need to fight. We're working with an ally of ours in City Council, Danny Drum from Queens, who's pushing for transparency from the Department of Correction. But like I said, we have to work together because when we see indifference, I think indifference is actually a form of violence. So we have to be working together to speak out because no matter who you are, everyone deserves dignity. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. Your story and your sharing is so powerful, and I think it's that exposure and that narrative and that telling of who Kyam was is what engages folks to understand the problems that exist here, even though they're so hard to believe.